So there's something that I find incredibly important when it comes to like writing, and this is across the board. This isn't just writing a script, right? This isn't just writing a play. This isn't just writing a piece of content or speaking a piece of content. I think finding your voice as a creator, let's leave it like that, is so important. There are certain people, certain authors that we know their work by virtue of how they use language. Think Shel Silverstein. Think oh my God, I just said his name in the previous take. The guy that wrote James and the Giant Peach. These people, even certain people that we may not like anymore, have such unique voices when it comes to their writing that it sets them a world apart, which is also part of like why I don't necessarily believe that something can be stolen from you. Sure, an idea can be taken, but one, an idea cannot be copyrighted since, the beginning. And there's a saying in writing that like, everything has already been made. And everything is just an iteration of something else. With that said, nobody can copy you, your particular sauce. And that goes into this component of writing tone or writing style, right? The style that you write in is so important.
The vessel, that you use the vessel of your communication in a particular way which sets you apart. And it's not to do it in like this like externalized way to like manipulate words or language. No, it needs to be unique to you. It needs to be an authentic expression of you. And that's true in writing, it's true in speaking, right? That there are particular people. I think of Tony Robbins, for instance. He has such a particular way and such a powerful way of like speaking, which is why like it makes complete sense that he's a motivational speaker. With that said, finding your voice can sometimes be a challenge because we are constantly invaded with other people's ideas, especially if you consume content, especially if you're consuming some other art that you really look up to. And part of like our journey as artists or creators or whatever you are is finding your unique and authentic voice, how you use language, right? If you're like from Houston, and again, like that can be just an amalgam of culture, of ethnicity, of like the country that you grew up in. It could be how you use certain language versus others. And you see me sometimes like go in and out of Spanish, and that's like a unique way of me speaking. And it doesn't mean that it's like the most appropriate way to speak in all contexts, but it's how you communicate with friends, and you unite that with that authenticity with sometimes structure and with knowing how to speak to different audiences, right? You're not going to speak on a professional level in the same way, or you're not going to write for a certain brand in the same way that you're going to write about in another. For instance, Microsoft versus Apple, right? It's the first thing that comes to mind. Microsoft is a very different tone than Apple, especially if circa 2K, like Apple was doing all these like amazing things, and they were like, creating a new wave of like young and fun energy, and the copyright and everything related to the branding of that company coincided with the tone that the copywriter needed to write, any kind of copy connected to that brand. In the same way, you can think of sorry, I lost my train of thought. You can think of creating content in that same way. You can even think of and I would, especially like I would say for a script, it's so important because it really does. It's the thing that sets you apart. Like nobody wants to see like, your version of Martin Scorsese. Like they want to see your work, which is why we might talk a million things about Celine Song, but you can't take away that she's an amazing filmmaker. Even if you don't necessarily agree with like, like certain films, it doesn't matter. It starts a conversation because her voice is so unique. And it talks about these larger themes and how it impacts us as people, right? Which is all art is meant to do. It's meant to create a conversation. It's meant to open your eyes to something different. And you start that through finding that unique tone and that unique voice, which only you can give, right? I think that there's like a saying somewhere like there's something unique in you that only you can offer to the world. And I think that's true in writing, and I think that's true in speaking and in creating, because in the creation process, nobody can copy that, right? Like somebody can copy your video tone for tone, or like word for word, but nobody has your way of communicating. Nobody has like your passion, or for a specific subject, like the whole video on Shakespeare and the iambic pentameter and the I am the divine spark, right? Like I created that video, it got 0 views, but I loved it. I had so much fun. I was so passionate about that because I was like, I found this like connection between these two disparate things. Now let's talk about those conspiracy theories and why it's so much fun to think that like, Shakespeare was possibly part of like, some cult. So, like it doesn't matter. It needs to be authentically you. And the authenticity starts at your voice, at the tone, in the voice of the writer, in the voice of the speaker. Anyway, that's my personal take. So go write, find your authentic self, use, I am going to add this. And as an actor, I think it's so important because we want to see your unique self, right? Like we want to see your authenticity because actors can sometimes hide behind the characters. I know I've done it. I've definitely done that. But I think nowadays, after having gone to speech class and like modulation class and all that, like I've recognized like actually me going in and out of Spanish is my own authentic way, because sometimes like my brain is like ADHD and I can only remember a word in Spanish, and so I'll insert it until such a time as I can find the English version, or maybe I don't, and that's okay too. Anyway, that's my take. Find your voice, find your authentic voice, and write with that, and that's what's gonna set you apart. Bye.